make a request that you move forward. Don't leave gaps on the Day of Judgment. You don't want a gap between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the rest of you who are sitting, remember Jumu'ah is a reenactment of us speaking to God. So sit up as much as you can for these 16 minutes. Present yourself as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you. As if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you right now. Sit that way so that the khutbah can affect you. There is nothing I can tell you that you don't know. But sitting and presenting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives adab, ihtaram, manners and etiquettes. Innal hamdalillah. Indeed, all praise and thanks are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we attend Jumu'ah, nahmaduhu, and we come to Jumu'ah. By coming to Jumu'ah, we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa nasta'inuhu. And the greatest hamd of Allah isn't alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. The greatest hamd of Allah is recognizing Allah is there. And when you recognize Allah is there, you'll stop asking anyone else for help. You will say, as the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala an, they would make dua, they would ask God for shoelaces. And they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Ya Rasulullah, is it okay? And my Nabi said, ask Allah for whatever you need, because eventually you will realize, وَنَسْتَعِينُهُ وَنَسْتَغْفِرُهُ وَنُؤْمِنُ بِهِ وَنَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهِ. You will eventually understand that it's not about asking Allah. So Allah wrote it for you already, right? All the breath, the life that you have right now, are you going to say, Allah, make me live after Jummah? No, it's written. So sometime, after some point, when you keep asking your parents, oh Baba, can you get me this toy? Baba, can you get me this toy? When you keep asking, eventually what does Baba do? He gives it to you. But didn't your dad have that gift waiting for you? He had it waiting. He was saying, you know what, if my kid does good, but he still tests you. Stop pretending or asking Allah to guide you. You're here. It's Jummah. You are guided. And in that guidance, ask Allah. Allah, you brought me to Jummah on time. وَنَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهِ. We believe in Allah, we place our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but what do you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam reminded us something about Jum'ah. Everybody knows what Jum'ah is, right? 4 rak'ah, Allah takes away 2 so that you can listen to this. The khutbah is not the important part. Let me fast forward through this. In Jannah, on Friday, what happens? Allah puts up and has a tent, a banquet, and He calls the people. You all know this hadith. He calls the people, and the people sit down, and ushers bring you to your place, because it is Jumu'ah, and everyone knows who gives khutbah on Jumu'ah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to the people, some of the people in the back of the banquet, still Jannah, will say, Man huwa? Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Why does he get to sit in the front? And what will the mu'aqqal, the little creatures of light in paradise, what will they say? Oh, that guy? Oh, he sat in the front row of Jummah. In this world? So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has him up in the front. وَنَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهِ. If you don't believe this, why do you come to Jummah? So I can tell you about hell and tell you what you're doing wrong? وَنَتَوَكَّلُ عَلَيْهِ. We place our trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That if I believe in Allah, if I give my life and I believe that there is an Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and let's all do that together. مَنْ يَهْدِهِ اللَّهُ فَلَا مُضِلَّ لَهُ وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. This khutbah will never guide you. Nothing will guide you except Allah. So whoever Allah guides, no one can misguide. Can you say in your heart, Allahumma ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wal-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. And only say Ameen in your heart if you believe. My dua for you on Friday is that God gives you so much opulence and so much gifts. You can't help but believe in Him. There are those of you who are going to be tested. Someone's going to be sick, someone's going to be depressed. My dua, and this is my dua, My dua is that the people who attend Jummah here and day in and day out have to fight the attacks of college on whether there is a God or there isn't a God, the people who live in a university town have to live by university rules. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you, Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wal-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. May your hidayah make you rich. May your guidance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you lose 10 pounds. May your belief in the akhirah make the Lamborghini on the street look like, oh, subhanallah, inshallah. May you look at the Lamborghini here and say, yes, Allah has something better. I'm going to ask my Nabi, what's your first question in Jannah? I wonder. Everyone knows what Allah's going to ask you. My question is, what are you going to talk about in Jannah? What's the first thing? First thing I need to ask the Nabi is, where's the Buraq? I just need a quick, no, everyone's going to take a ride on the Buraq. If you haven't thought that up yet, I don't know what Jannah you're going to. If you're thinking of how paradise is with rivers and houses, we don't want rivers and houses. We want things of our time. Why don't you look and ask Allah? May Allah give you hidayah, which leads to opulence in your life. May Allah give you so much that you never have to ask how much. But we're afraid to say Ameen. Because if Allah gave you, then what would you have to do? You'd have to believe in Him, right? It's easier to say, Ya Allah, I have no money. Ya Allah, I'm sick. Ya Allah, I have nothing. It's easy, right? And say, Astaghfirullah. And push Allah away. Allah said, ask, and I will give you. So whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can misguide. You ask God in your heart. You don't need some guy in a member to tell you. Ask Allah to guide you. Ask Allah to answer the questions in your head that you don't know. Right? Everyone has some thought in their head. Well, if Allah knows everything, then why am I doing this? Ask Allah. Allahumma hdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Say, Allah, I don't understand things. Help me understand. And at the end, وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَا هَادِيَ لَهُ. And whoever doesn't want hidayah, he's not going to get it. Because if I came to Brother Samir, or if I came to one of the brothers, and I said, please turn on the lights for the khutbah. And then I come in and I turn off all the lights. I spray paint all the windows shut. Then I said, brother, it's dark in here. Ya salam, when Qur'an is read, oh brother, I don't want to hear about it. Some reminder of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes, you're still disconnecting. Every time I say Allah, you hear halal haram, right? You hear hell and heaven. Let me try, just 1 second. Before we say, what comes after, Man yudlilillahu fala hadiya. What do I say? I say this, right? Before we say it, let me just give you one touch. An angel came and asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ibrahim, why is he Khalil? I mean, we're angels. And why is he Khalil? Why is Ibrahim alayhi salam, Abraham, the father of one God, the concept of one God? So the angels, we all know that we call him Ibrahim, the friend of God. Everyone understands that? That's what we call Ibrahim, Khalilullah. So the angel asked, why Khalilullah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not answer the angel. He said, you go find out. So the angel came to the earth in the form of a human being. We all know that this can happen. And so he was walking and he saw Ibrahim alayhi salam by a tree. So he walked up to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now I want you to think, who is Abraham? At this point in the world, if you lived during the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam, how many people would believe in one God? Him and his wife, maybe, right? So 2 people know the name Allah. Out comes a man from the desert. You're standing over there. You're Ibrahim alayhi salam. And he comes saying, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. The angel is walking, Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. Ibrahim alayhi salam drops his stuff, comes running over, and goes, how do you know the name of my God? And the angel said, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. And Ibrahim alayhi salam sat down and got lost. Why? Because he heard Allah. So the angel stopped, and then he looked up and said, no, why did you stop? Min fadlik, one more, subhanallah. He goes, no, what will you give me? The angel says, what will you give me? So Ibrahim alayhi salam looks over to the angel and goes, I have 100 sheep. I'll give you 50. And he goes, subhanallah, subhanallah. He said the name of Allah, Allah, Allah. The narration that I'm giving you was a long tasbih. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi adada khalqihi. This is another one. But he kept praising Allah. Ibrahim alayhi salam got lost. The angel stopped. I'm about to say God's name now. And he goes, why did you stop? He goes, you know the deal. What are you going to give me? He goes, I gave you 50? I give you 50 more sheep, lamb, whatever I got. Just keep going, brother. And he says, subhanallah. 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 Ibrahim alayhi salam gets lost in the name of Allah. What does the angel then do? He stops. And the angel kind of mocks him and says, you only had 100 sheep. Okay. You only had 100, now what do you have? Ibrahim alayhi salam got up to his feet and said, I heard that you just acquired 100 sheep. I will become your slave. Say the name of my Lord one more time. And the angel said, Subhanallah. But wait. Then Ibrahim alayhi salam was told, the angel was like, okay, here's the deal, keep your sheep. I asked Allah why you were friend of Allah. Now if I came up to you and I said an angel's going to say, hey, I wanted to know why you're so special to Allah. What would you do? You're like, oh my God, someone's talking about me up there. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam ask the angel? The angel says, yes, I asked Allah this question and now I found my answer. What did Ibrahim alayhi salam say on the way? He goes, but as you're going, just one more time, Subhanallah. Say the name of Allah. So when we say, وَنَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَنَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ, I bear witness, whether the science that is trying to prove there is no God, whether it succeeds in my lifetime to make people confused, whether my friend believes in a God or not, whether my professor cares that I'm at Jumu'ah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I got no problem. Somewhere I want it written on my soul. I bear witness and testify. There is no other creator, sustainer. There is no other feeder. There is no other chemist who made liquid oxygen. There is no other physicist who made my blood go from my toes to my heart. There is no other architect other than Al-Khaliq al-Bari al-Musawwir. There is no other artist greater than the artistry of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves me? You, here, Tucson, Tucson, whatever you call it. People, how do you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you? وَنَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا عَبْدُهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. Other people get to call Jesus God. Huh? Other people get to say there is no God. When someone says, who's your Nabi? What do you say? Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Of who his sweat smelled like atr. Of who? And let's bring up the 9-year-old marriage. Did Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha once say when he passed away, hey, I felt a little young when I got married? She spent her whole life narrating his sentences. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Maybe you don't understand, so I will close the first khutbah with the concept of how much Allah already loves you. So I'm not sure what I should tell you. The Shabab from Saudi Arabia who can read, from Yemen, from Qatar, who came from the Middle East, you all can read. We died to learn Qur'an. Iqra. Min fadlik, for the love of God, pick up Qur'an. But why does the khatib have to tell you this? Your mother used to tell you this. Pick up the Qur'an, and if you cannot read Qur'an, my generation, you can pick up this. For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guaranteed communication between us and Him, between this. And I'll ask you again, do you have to be healthy to go to a hospital? You have to be healthy to go to a hospital? So brothers come to you, nad'u, make dua for us, make dua. Ya salam, why am I going to pray for you? I will pray for you in Jummah. But who's going to pray better for you than yourself? Raise your hands. Don't say, I'm a sinner, I can't pray to Allah. Does that make any sense? I'm a sinner, I'm very sick, brother, I can't go to the hospital. I'm so sick, I can't go to the hospital. I'll leave you on a thought and I will sit for the khutbah. Think. Please, Shabab, even who don't understand English as their first language, answer these questions, yes or no. Khalas. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, al-yawm, today, salli salatul fajr, did God pray fajr? Allah, did He pray fajr? God doesn't pray fajr. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala go for Hajj? Last weekend, I came back from Hajj. Allahumma taqabbal minna. And those of you who went for Hajj, may Allah accept. And I think there's only a few of you, because the rest of you think, wow, he's a little excited. No, go to Hajj, come back. It'll be just like this. I ask you again, did Allah go for Hajj? In simple English, Allah, did He go for Hajj? Does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fast? So what is the only act, ya Jama'ah? Because you think he's too excited. What is the only thing Allah does? Kaifa? I don't know. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. And I do too. And you do too. as I sit for the khutbah, ask yourself this question. What does Allah do that I get to do? Allah doesn't pray, friends. Allah on the throne doesn't fast.
Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya
when the lips are puckering Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when this durood leaves your mouth, who do you meet? Who are you in unison? Allah doesn't have time in seconds. Allah is perfect. As-sabur, right? Timeless. So when you say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, who is also doing durood and salam to him? Allah. Next time you need a hit, you need a hookah, you need the end of a bud or a pipe or whatever works in Tucson. I don't know what works out here. Just make durood before you start, so at least Allah can come with you. Start the TV remote. Allahumma salli ala. Choose the movie. Allahumma salli. Why? Allah can enjoy with you. Allah somewhere far away. Bring durood and salams before the argument with your spouse. She's coming. What for dinner? Hang on. Allahumma salli ala. Let's get it on. This is your opportunity to bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After Hajj, what could anyone remind you? Ittaqullah. But don't be afraid of Allah. As I sit for the khutbah, you answer this question. Time is very scarce. Oh people, I met you a year ago. I asked you a question. Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watching you? Or is Allah watching out for you? Allah watches the universe, but inside the universe there are some people called Muslims. I don't think Allah watches the Muslims. Allah watches out for the Muslims. That's how I believe in my Lord. I encourage you, yes, have fear of the hellfire. Be careful from doing major sins. But I don't need to tell you that. But I do need to tell you that when you're in an elevator alone, and you don't know anyone in the elevator, what do? You take out the Dajjal machine, right? You take out the Dajjal machine, you look at it. How many times have you looked at your phone with nothing on it? Why not say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad? Why not make istighfar? Not because you're a bad person, but because Allah loves you enough to remember you. Between the sittings of the khutbah, the dua is not rejected. I asked you, I said very few words in the khutbah. Please make dua. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-huda wal-tuqa wal-afafa wal-ghina. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a. May Allah give you beneficial knowledge, not random information so you get a degree. وَعَمَلًا مُتَقَبَّلًا. And when you pray, pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Think about this. If aqimus salah means perform salah, brother, if I ask you to perform something, what does he become? The performer. Don't pray to stay away from the hellfire. You did that last Ramadan, 27th. Allahumma ajirna minan nar. Pray for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when the angels are saying Allah, they were going to nusabbihu bihamdika wa nuqaddisu lak. And they point at us and they say, oh, these people are going to make trouble. Pray for Allah. Become the performer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Between the sittings of the khutbah, وَرِزْقًا طَيِّبًا. May Allah take care of your financial needs. And once He removes your financial needs, please don't fall back into debt. وَلَا ذِكْرُ اللَّهِ. Yeah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله النبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام تباركت يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. حينا وأدخلنا دار السلام. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث أصلح لي شأني كله. Do not say Amin to my dua
unless you know. I ask Allah to rectify all of the problems in my life. وَلَا تَكِلْنِي إِلَى نَفْسِي. And oh Allah, I live in a Twitter world. Oh Allah, I live in a WhatsApp world where whatever I do, my phone buzzes. Wherever I am. So I never really connect to Allah. I always am told about someone's status, about some cool conversation, or someone sends you one of those dorky pictures, and you spend about 3 minutes looking at it and saying, this was dumb. You say, Allah, I am that. I am the nafs that lives in the selfie world. Ulama wrote fatawa in Hajj. Not about Hajj, but about taking selfies. In that world, can you say طرفة عين? If you could say it in your heart and know, طرفة عين is blinking your eye. I make dua that Allah never leaves our side. Our consciousness and awareness of Allah never leaves us even for the blink of an eye. May Allah distance anxiety and depression from you. May Allah remove helplessness. And I conclude the second khutbah on one word. Ittaqullah. I took 20 years to figure out how was I going to say that in a khutbah. Isn't that so generic? Fear Allah, brother. And then I lived in America for my whole life. And if you're not afraid of terrorism, then you're afraid of ISIS. And if you're not afraid of ISIS, you're afraid of Ebola. And if you're not afraid of Ebola, you're afraid because I'm going to get you because of your taxes and gas prices are too high. You're going to be scared of something. Allah Ta'ala said, Ittaqullah. That blank area that's dark, where you're like, fear, brother, what if? I want you to fill Allah with that. And the first time you open the door and say, I'm afraid of Allah, only a few of you maybe have done it. Say, I'm afraid of Allah. It's not dark. It's very light. It's very lit. Ittaqullah. In a time, brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ would use the second khutbah to bring current events. In a time where we do this out of fashion. I was making tawaf at least 20 times. Someone would stop. They're like, hey, bearded guy, maybe he'll take my picture. And as soon as someone would come, this is the time you live in. Forget about a tower in the sky. That's old news. I would ask people, they would stop, take a picture, and you, miskeen, you feel bad, so you pick up their camera. What do? They turn their back to the Kaaba, and then, what did Biyar say? Oh, they make dua like this. And as soon as you put the camera down, what do? Shukran. But I was like, what? Dua has become a joke. It's a selfie thing to do, right? It's something in a marriage picture. Maybe you could do it for some newspaper. This has become cheap. The people of Ahmed ibn Hanbal, everyone knows him? The great sheikh, when he used to raise his hands, people would shake. People would be afraid. Why do I bring up that? What I ask us to do is, do not be afraid of Ebola. Do not be afraid of the world around you. Be afraid of the fact that you don't know Allah. And I guarantee, and a 70-story tower in the middle of Makkah, that guarantees too that you will meet Allah. So when you meet Allah, you can ask all of these hipster questions. Hey Allah, I didn't really get this thing. This guy said something in philosophy class. But now you can ask Allah. So I leave you on that moment. Stand for the salah, perform salah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you say astaghfirullah, remember Allah. But my only homework to you is when you leave here until you come next week, anytime you are alone, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Inna Allah ya'muru bil 'adli wal ihsani wa ita'i bil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal bagh. Make room for your brothers in the back. The guy who comes late to Jummah needs Jummah the most. So if y'all could give him some room to get in, it would be wonderful. All you back people, Allah bless you, and I will make dua. Ya Jabir al-Azm, O joiner of the bones, may Allah strengthen your lumbar spine. The only reason we lean on the wall is because Allah has not given us enough strength to stand up. May Allah strengthen your bones. May Allah remove the swelling from your tendons and ligaments. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala remove the need to constantly x-ray your body. May salah be your MRI. May ruku and sajda, may sajda be your CAT scan. And may Allah set the bones into place. If you don't let the last people to come into Jummah in, how will you make time? وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ.